funding the Museum Plaza in downtown Louisville. The House decided less than an hour ago to use $22 million in tax money collected from the hotel tax for public projects at the site downtown. WHAS 11 Mark Hebert live in Frankfurt with the latest on this funding decision, which was up in the air until the last moment, Mark.
It was very up in the air, but this very lousy day turned into a very beautiful day for the backers of the Museum Plaza project in downtown Louisville. They needed funding from the state of Kentucky and from Louisville for that $465 million project. And today, after much debate and much lobbying on both sides of the bill, they got it. 79-13 was the vote in the House chambers. Here's what happened this afternoon in the House chambers as the full House took up this debate. Backers of the Museum Plaza hotel project and the slew of lobbyists they hired were watching intently from the gallery in the House floor. House members were debating whether to strip $22 million for public improvements at Museum Plaza out of a bill. That money would come from the Louisville hotel bed taxes, which fund the Louisville Tourism and Convention Bureau. So tourism folks from across Kentucky were lobbying heavily against that funding, worried it would set a dangerous precedent using tourism tax money for a private project. But they didn't win that argument. The bill passed 79-13 with Museum Plaza funding intact.
It's really easy to explain your vote. What you're voting for is simply to allow Metro Louisville to use a portion of its local taxes for a purpose that's already permitted under existing law.
A lot of the Jefferson County delegation really stepped up and helped explain the misinformation that was going on, and I think once the legislature understood what was really happening and it was a local issue, people stepped up and supported the project.
That was Steve Poe, who is one of the backers and funders of the Museum Plaza project. Those backers have already poured about $14 million of their own money into that project without knowing whether the funding would come through from the Kentucky General Assembly. That measure that would partly fund the Museum Plaza project and the public improvements around it now heads over to the State Senate. State Senate President David Williams told me late this afternoon they'd have to look at that bill before deciding whether to pass it. Live at the State Capitol building in Frankfurt, I'm Mark Hebert, WHAS 11 News.
Thank you, Mark. At WHAS 11 tracked down Mayor Jerry Abrams shortly after the House vote on the Museum Plaza this afternoon, and he had this reaction to the news.
The fact that the House joined with the unanimous vote of the Metro Council, my support, the unanimous vote of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and so many other groups locally that have been working so hard, that's really good news. Now we'll move to the Senate. Hopefully we'll get their support and we can break ground on Museum Plaza this calendar year.
It will certainly be an architectural statement. The 62-story skyscraper expected to be finished on the Louisville riverfront by 2010. Also today in Frankfurt, the House passed the so-called